so glad I got this opportunity to chat with you. And one of my first questions would be your thought process of the Commonwealth Games and the Bermuda athletes before you actually attended the games. What were your thoughts? What were your hopes and wishes?
So I was hoping that I'd make it was probably my primary piece. It all came together at the last minute. We weren't sure about tickets and arrangements and so on, and I just happened to be going to the UK on holiday, on a family holiday, and the good people of the Bermuda Olympic Association got things sorted very much for me to be there. So I was super excited as a kind of sports enthusiast, as someone who's watched the games over the years, as someone who really is an opportunity to then be there, not just as a spectator, but really representing the people of Bermuda, but also supporting the team.
Right.
Because that support, I think, in the stadiums, in the aquatic centre, etc., I just think it makes such a big difference. And there was certainly a couple of points where you could see it made a difference. People seeing the actual flags. It's one thing just hearing lots of people cheering and supporting and knowing that you've got the support of the crowd, but to see the flag, people flying the flag around, I think it makes a difference. So.
We started off with a bang. You were there. Tell me your feelings, because I'll tell you my feelings, because I was actually at the Tokyo Olympics. And the emotion watching the whole thing unfold. So tell me your feelings as you watched Flora Duffy run to victory.
So just before she was running to victory, there was again a sense for me of actually getting in there. And as I arrived at Sahaba, I was misdirected towards the kind of viewing area. Mm-hmm. So the upside in hindsight was that I ended up walking up and down much of the route outside. And the first thing that surprised me and really gave me a lot of joy was the extent to which there were Bermuda flags flying on the route. And so if I just arrived and gone and sat in the viewing stands, I would have sort of seen a very different perspective. Mm-hmm. But for me, seeing the flags flying, actually bumping into people that I knew on the route who were just there to support young and some of the young athletes, young Bermudian athletes as well, was really quite special. There was this sense that kind of, Bermuda was really representing and supporting its athletes.
Right.
I was really nervous, I have to say, as I sat there in the stands, which seemed to be almost exclusively, I don't know if everyone was adopting Bermuda, and those who weren't Bermudians had kind of adopted Bermuda by this stage, but I was really nervous because you just sort of think the expectation is so high, and people, I think with the benefit of hindsight, we all look back and think she was defending champion, the Olympic champion, sort of, foregone conclusion. But I was really thinking about just all of those obstacles that Dame Flora had faced in the run up to it, the kind of bike not arriving on time, the COVID, positive tests, etc. And just thinking about that sort of pressure expectation. But there was not necessarily doubt, but it was nervousness, if that makes sense. But there were kind of 2 points that really stuck with me from watching it. One was, the first thing that made me really smile as I sat there in those stands, probably 3 points actually. One was seeing the extent to which Bermuda was suddenly really represented. So here we are at the Commonwealth Games, defending champion, Bermudian is like, competing, and we're all there kind of thing. And then I look in front of me and I see someone watching Cup Match on their screen, and I thought to myself, this is definitely a sense of, we know where we are, but we know what else matters too. And so there was that moment of sort of relaxation, but that transition that Dame Flora made was, that was the point at which I think the whole place erupted. There was a sense of kind of just calm because she was exuding the confidence, and you just knew that it was her. Right. She was out there against, and at that point it was hers to lose. And the joy when she crossed that line was really quite
I'm kind of reminiscent of when I watched it in Tokyo, and it unfolded right in front of my eyes, and you're standing there and you're saying, okay, just get off the bike, 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 get off the bike. And then the run, it just all seemed to come together, and she put in the burst right in front of the grandstand, to actually take the lead and then
lead.
and just run away with it. It was an amazing thing, because now when she ran away from the grandstand, we had to watch on a giant screen, and it actually you actually was able to get a sense of how far the lead was and so forth. I mean, we were timing it as she came through, but just the sense of being there, the excitement, and then the emotion.
I mean, it is the emotion, and thankfully her parents were there as well,
Right.
support and family. And so, I mean, I thought it was great, and I think it was a great thing. I would hope for the athletes who were there as well. So that was a very special moment.
Sure. But just being there, talking with the athletes, how did you think the athletes handled themselves? I mean, the Commonwealth Games is a big, tall order.
It's a big stage,
Yes.
and it's competitive, and there was a really big team. And I think that's a point of real pride for Bermuda, just the sheer number of competitors who were out there for an island of this size, not just geographically but population as well. To have kind of 17 athletes out there was quite special. I was like, we went down to the aquatic centre and saw the swimmers out there, many of them in their first kind of major competition, and they really handled the kind of spotlight, the pressure, the competition really well.
Yeah.
And I think when you're there, suddenly, and you're interacting with people, everybody's, many people's focus is very much, aside from kind of family and friends and people who, if swimming is your sport, then
Right.
you're probably following the swimmers as well.
Right.
But when me being there, it gave me this real sense of the support network. And this stuff doesn't happen like without a huge amount of investment, of people's time, money, love, support for all of those athletes. And so, they need to be there, not just for Dame Flora Duffy,
Right.
Olympic champion, but also for every one of those competitors. And the work that the Bermuda Olympic Association does, absolutely outstanding in terms of just being able to see that.
To be the head of the country, being there, what sense of pride did you have that they kind of was representing you, us, and everyone, but you had you had a personal stake in it?
Absolutely, and there's just a feeling around the Commonwealth Games and the extent to which people often describe it, of course, as the friendly games.
Yes.
And it was amazing, just the extent of the interaction and, huge kind of Olympic, Commonwealth, world champion greats and kind of presidents of association. Everyone is interacting, interesting, and the extent to which people know Bermuda
Right.
in sport and are keen to kind of interact and to be there. And of course I was there with this kind of slightly bizarre, for me, status of being the head of state and representing in that way. And so that had something really special about it. But seeing the camaraderie, not just between those who are competing, but also between those who are representing their nations.
Yeah.
You see, even in the opening ceremony, the British Overseas Territories are all cheering for each other. The Caribbean is all kind of, and you see people clearly with family connections, friend connections to sort of 3, 4, 5 different Commonwealth nations, all
Right.
kind of up cheering for the same. And so there was something quite. There was a freedom that I think came for everybody, and that you're at it's a sporting event ultimately, and so a lot of the kind of pomp and ceremony is out of the status,
Right,
and you've
right.
got Olympic greats out there just really excited to watch what happens, as well as spectators, as well as people like me who are there in a semi-official capacity.
Now, this tiny little island left Birmingham with 2 medals.
Yes.
It's quite a remarkable feat. But would you be the one that would say, I called up my colleagues and said, "Hey, look what Bermuda done. Look what is it like friendly little banter?"
There is, but sometimes you just don't need to draw attention to it yourself, and so that's what I've tended to do with both the Olympic Games. When everyone else is talking about it, you don't really need to be the one to sort of say it. So yes, there is absolutely a bit of that, and even actually, you're right about the 2 medals, but an island like Bermuda having a team in the triathlon, a team competing on that stage. I mean, that is really testament not just to the association, to the kind of Bermuda Olympic Association, but also the Triathlon Association, who are out there constantly kind of, you know, supporting children at quite a young age to explore this sport, and means that, you know, there was even there, you know, there was a real sense of hope for a medal for Bermuda there. And so I think it's a sense of pride, it's a sense of gratitude for all those who invest their time kind of, you know, week in, week out, but also then for those who kind of support the individuals.
What was your biggest takeaway from the Commonwealth Games?
So my takeaway is probably about the kind of Commonwealth Games itself, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that, you know, one of the kind of special moments, you know, you talk about kind of getting to be there, and there is a real sense of I'm here. One of the things that I got to do, which again, if I wasn't there in this capacity, I wouldn't have been able to do. So Peter was waiting. I got a chance to go out in the team car on the road cycling, and follow Caden as he went around the route, and that was, you know, one of the most exciting things that I have done. Pretty terrifying. I did sit in the car at one point, sort of thinking to myself, reminds me if one of my daughters ever decides to do something like this, not to say I'm going to be in the car behind, because again, there was a sense of kind of fearful individual. You've got confidence in their skill and ability, but there's a sense of like nervousness as you go racing around this city, arms and limbs and children kind of just hanging into the road. But there was something quite special about that experience, and seeing him and the rest of the team do so well. My real takeaway from the games is, like, over the course of years, I've watched the Commonwealth Games to see the greats and the hopefuls and the ones who kind of, you know, you're really cheering on and thinking maybe this will be their time. But being there was a real sense of the kind of family of the Commonwealth, and the extent to which this kind of, you know, association of free nations is coming together, and this is something that we're all enjoying, we're all supporting. Some of those who are competing are at the peak of their individual sport and discipline, and this will be something that sort of, you know, gives them character and strength and determination as they go into very different walks of life. But they are all there, and people are supporting right until the last minute. And there is something about the human spirit, but also something about seeing what sport does to can do for people's kind of lives, and the way in which it builds people, which I'm finding it difficult to explain it to you, but you kind of feel it you feel it there from the kind of athletes you don't get anywhere near to, but you really do feel it at the games, because you see this huge gulf. This is, I suppose, one of the things people question about the Commonwealth Games. You see this huge gulf in times and in calibre, but everybody is out there right until they cross the line. And they're all going to fight until they cross the line, regardless of whether everyone else has finished some time ahead of them or not. And as someone who enjoys and loves the kind of the spirit of sport and the competition of sport, that was something special to enjoy.
Well, I want to thank you for your time today, reminiscing about your times at the Commonwealth Games, and just being there. I know for you and your family it was an exciting time, just as you've already indicated, seeing those Bermuda flags, watching cop match at the same time.
You know, it is we think about the kind of greatness, but for me there was an important thing, which was, it was exciting. It was a privilege for me to be there. This was not a chore on the day. I was happy to to do it whilst on leave. But there I really, particularly I think when you see the difference in the numbers of people who are supporting different nations, it was really important for me to think, well, you know, if I can add to that number of people who are out there supporting and cheering for this broad range of athletes, and we were thinking about how we split ourselves between different venues and things like that. You know, actually, it was a real honour for me to just be in that number, really, in terms of being there to support the team. I hope that it helped in some small way.
I'm pretty sure it did. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.